Okay, class, welcome to part 2 of the 3.2a lesson video. I really like this page. This is page 26 in your module. This is an excellent page, okay? I really think you should try these problems on your own, but just for the sake of time, I'm only going to do one problem in this part 2 video. I'm going to do number 15 just because it looks intimidating. But I hope you realize none of these problems should be that bad as long as you know how to calculate slope. Okay, so notice what I'm doing right away for number 15. I'm immediately labeling my x1, my y1, my x2, my y2. Okay, now just a review. So your slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is the same process that you're going to do for all of these problems. I just wanted to do number 15 because it looks intimidating with the fraction, but that's okay. So 20 thirds minus 7 thirds divided by negative 5 minus 8. That's going to be my slope. Wow. Weird. 20 thirds minus 7 thirds is 13 thirds. And that's going to be divided by, oh, what do you know? Negative 5 minus 8 is negative 13. Okay, so that's not too bad, actually, because you'll realize that 13 thirds divided by negative 13 is like saying 13 thirds divided by negative 13 over 1, right? And we also know that dividing by a fraction is like saying you multiply by the fraction's reciprocal. Yes, I do admit this slope is kind of challenging to calculate, but it's really just 13 thirds times negative 1 over 13 or 1 over negative 13, right? These cancel and you end up getting negative 1/3. The negative is still attached, obviously, but negative 1/3 is going to be my slope. Okay, now that was only half the problem because I now have to plug in one of my points to calculate the b value. I do apologize a little bit. This question is a little bit complicated. It's more challenging than usual, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and use 8 comma 7 thirds because I don't want to use any negative numbers. And we're plugging it into y equals mx plus b, right? So you could start to realize, class, your homework needs to show a lot of work. I'm going to be checking your homework very intently to see who's showing work and who's not. Please don't tell me I did the work on a separate sheet of paper or all the other kind of excuses that could potentially arise, right? You have to show me all of your steps. Okay, so 7 thirds is the y. Negative 1/3 is my m value. My x value is 8. And then my b value is unknown. It's what we're solving for. Okay, I plugged in negative 1/3 and I plugged in this point, 8 comma 7 thirds. Okay, so 7 thirds is going to equal negative 8 thirds plus b. And this is perfect because if I add 8 thirds to both sides, I end up getting 7 thirds plus 8 thirds, which is actually 15 thirds. And that means 15 thirds is actually 5. Now, I use a lot of space on this. You may want to use a separate scratch piece of paper to do this problem, right? 5 is equal to b. So my final answer with the slope that I just calculated and the b value is going to be y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus 5. There it is. Okay, the concept is the same. Obviously, the numbers are not that nice. That's okay. Okay, now let's skip to our last page of the lesson which is on calculating the equation of a line given a table. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's try 4 of these problems. I want you to try 18, I want you to try 20, 22, and just for fun, let's try potentially 23, the hardest one maybe. Okay, so we realize, class, that a table is really just a set of points, and really you can calculate the slope by just doing, if I calculate this as x1 and this as y1, this is x2, this is y2, what you can do is you can calculate the slope just by doing 10 minus 5 divided by 5 minus 0, right? This is another way of saying what we're doing is called the first difference. This is the difference between your y values divided by the difference between your x values. And so let's do 10 minus 5 divided by 5 minus 0, which gives us our m value, right? 10 minus 5 is 5. 5 minus 0 is 5. And that gives us a slope of 1, right? Now, what's really, really nice is the fact that we're also given a y-intercept here, right? You can't expect that. It's just a gift. It's a privilege. If you're given 0, 5, we know that that's the b value then, right? That's the y-intercept. So our b value is 5. We don't even have to plug in any other numbers to realize that. And we just know that our slope-intercept form is y is equal to x. You don't have to put the 1 in front of x because it's just x. And y is equal to x plus 5. Okay. But let's review standard form. So standard form, again, is when x and y are on the same side. And obviously, you can't have any decimals or fractions. And then the a value is positive. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to actually subtract y from both sides. And really, technically, that would give me 0 is equal to x minus y plus 5. But then I'm just going to move the 5 to the other side, and I have my answer in standard form, right? The reason why I didn't subtract x from both sides is because I wanted to make sure that the x stayed positive. So if I just subtract 5 from both sides here, my final answer is x minus y is equal to negative 5. Okay, if you need help with standard form, please review standard form. I think that was 3.1b lesson or 3.1c lesson. I believe it was 3.1b. 3.1b. Okay. Now, if you look at number 20, class, 20 is interesting because the y values are not changing. And if the y values are not changing, doesn't that mean that there is no rise? Right? If there is no rise, it's a 0 slope. These are all things that we know about this right now. So really, your equation is just going to be y equals negative 1, right? Because the slope is 0 and your y value is literally the b value. There is no rise. It's going to look like a horizontal line. And your slope-intercept form equation is y equals negative 1. It's always that number that it's constantly set as. Now, in standard form, it's also the same, y equals negative 1. Okay. Now, what do you notice about number 22? Okay. 22 is interesting because instead of the x or the y values not changing, the x values are not changing, right? And if the x values are not changing, we know that there is no run. We know that this is an undefined slope. And technically, when you have an undefined slope, you cannot write this in slope-intercept form, right? I know we kind of want to say x is equal to 0, but you can't write that because you cannot write something in slope-intercept form without a y value. So just write none. The standard form here, though, is x is equal to 0. Okay, so please highlight 20 and 22. These are very, very interesting questions. They deal with a 0 slope or an undefined slope, and you do want to distinguish between the two. Okay, let's try 23 now. So 23, our last question. x1, y1, x2, y2. Now, you could also use the 2 points on the bottom if you want, but I'm just using the first ones on the top. So I'm calculating my slope, 4 minus 2 divided by 6 minus negative 2. Okay, be careful here. 4 minus 2 divided by 6 minus negative 2. Okay, so our m value in this case is going to be 2 over 6 minus negative 2. That's 8, which is 1/4. Okay, so I calculate the slope. It's 1/4. And now, just for fun, because I haven't used the bottom point, I'm going to use the bottom point and plug in to my y equals mx plus b equation, right? The only missing piece that we need to solve for is our b value. So here we go. 5 is my y. M is 1/4. X is 10. And the b value is unknown. Okay, so now I'm going to write this as 5 is equal to 10/4 plus b. And we have to solve for b, right? 10/4 is actually 5 halves. 5 halves is actually 2.5. I'm going to do something really fun here. Oh, actually, no, I probably shouldn't do that. Oh, well, I'll do it anyways. I'll multiply everything by 4, and I get 20 is equal to 10 plus 4b. Just for fun, this probably is not the route that you would want to go, but 10 is equal to 4b, and that means b is equal to 10 divided by 4, which is 5 halves. Maybe not the best route. I apologize. But final answer for slope-intercept form is y is equal to 1/4 x plus 5 halves. Okay. Now we are tasked to convert this into standard form. I actually am curious to see who can do this. So I am not going to show this, and I'm going to leave it as a mystery. Let's discuss this in class. What is the answer in standard form? Maybe that will be our next warm-up question. Okay, remember that you have to convert you have to get rid of the fractions, and you have to put the x and the y on the same side. Okay, obviously we have a 1/4 here and we have a 5 halves here that you're going to have to clear. So I'm going to leave this as a question mark. If you want to know the answer, please ask in class, and let's discuss this in person. Thanks for watching.